Okay, we're now on part 1, section 17, All Things Are Connected, The Origin of the Gods by Andrew Collins and Gregory L. Little. Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity, much like the ancient Native American idea of an interconnected web linking all things to the whole, can be compared to the modern internet. Imagine for a moment if in the year 1900 Jung was in need of both writing paper and pens, and at the exact time someone came to his door selling pens and paper. Jung would call that synchronicity. If you get notifications on your smartphone, it's likely that you get ads and notices of the nearby restaurants and services as you travel to different places. If you search the internet for a particular product or service, you'll likely see ads immediately show up that try to steer you to a similar product. Jung might see that as synchronicity, but it's how the web works. It's all connected. It all interacts. Everything that you do on the internet is recorded and entered into an electric file that sorts it all out, creates your preferences, predicts your cultural expectations, formulates your likes and dislikes, and more. There is largely unseen energy grid. There is a largely unseen energy grid working behind the scenes and making lots of connections. Information derived from you goes into this swirling electronic soup, and you, in return, are presented with continual interactions derived from it. The internet, of course, is designed to sell you stuff, to sway your beliefs and opinions, to provide some education and entertainment, and to just allow communication. In a similar way, we have connections with the underlying reality of the paranormal web. This web functions through interactions between living beings, us, and the geomagnetic web. So let's try it again. The electromagnetic geomagnetic web created by natural occurring earth energies. The most important needle in the haystack of needles is a sentient energy contained in the electromagnetic spectrum. Plasma manifestations are at least one important way, if not the primary way, that this force appears to us and interacts with us. There is purpose in that interaction, but the purpose may be, as both Keel and Jung related, beyond our understanding. I simply view it as creation versus entropy. Plasma manifestations and paranormal events produce the same possible effects in that they can be helpful or destructive. They can create something new or cause entropy. But it's all part of the natural world, and a mechanism that allows creation and entropy was set in motion at the time of creation. But we don't truly understand the exotic energies involved. So it all seems to be supernatural. In many ways, we are far less knowledgeable of our relationship with this geomagnetic web than were our ancestors. They lived in it every day. They had to have a relationship with it. The ancient ones connected with it every day, just as most of the people reading this connect to the modern web. However, most of us today avoid the natural earth forces as much as possible. We avoid touching the earth. And despite many people probably disagreeing with this, we also avoid nature. Today, we live in a swirling mass of human-generated electromagnetic frequencies, pollution, and noise, and we keep ourselves insulated in concrete, brick, and steel. We are usually out of touch with the natural web. Time, temporal intrusions of intelligent manifesting energy. Let's try that again. Time, temporal intrusions of intelligent manifesting energy. For decades, I have struggled to find a simple descriptive term that adequately encompasses. I'll try this again. For decades, I have struggled to find a simple descriptive. Now you see why voice-over actors get paid money. I ain't one of them, so. Alright, for decades I have struggled to find a simple descriptive term that adequately encompassed the critical attributes of this force. The terms plasma, earth light, ghost lights, light forms, unexplained aerial phenomena, ball lightning, and even UFOs all fail to cover what it is. All of these terms fall short, and all of them place limits on our understanding. That's a very important statement. All of these terms fall short, and all of them place limits on our understanding. Even when we mention plasma as the form of manifestation the ancients saw as gods, a set of preconceived beliefs is stimulated by the terms plasma and gods. However, this paranormal energy phenomenon does have a set of consistent characteristics. It is temporal, meaning that its appearance is always transient. It is a localized intrusion, meaning that it suddenly manifests within a confined physical space, sometimes not even discernible to others within rather close proximity. It has intelligence and is able to interact and respond to its precipitants. It is a manifestation of energy that is often plasma-based, if not always plasma-based. This energy moves between different electromagnetic spectrum wavelengths. It is a fluid-like manifestation that forms on the edge of what we think of as physical reality versus pure energy. For lack of a better term, I now simply refer to it as time. In capital letters, temporal intrusions of intelligent manifesting energy. It has been on Earth since the beginning. It is the force that generated the angelic appearances seen by the ancient prophets and the beings of light that visited Swedenborg, Joan of Arc and Casey, and then the manifestations at Zetion, Egypt. It was the force behind many contactee reports and abduction stories and countless other tales, thought by skeptics to be so bizarre that the story simply could not be true. But it is a genuine force that the ancients came to see as an important source of knowledge, especially if one could get beyond the initial trickster-like aspects of that usually occurred. So getting beyond the initial trickster-like aspects. That usually occurred. The ancients willingly sought out connecting with these time forces. Once again, temporal intrusions of intelligent manifesting energy. Time forces. It did so when human-created EMF pollution was not present. Native American connections. One crucial reason that so much emphasis was placed on Native American beliefs in the first chapters of this book is very simple. That is, we know a great deal about their beliefs and practices. Native Americans and their ancient practices continue to exist to this day. We have access to a rich mythology from Native Americans that tell us of their beliefs about creation and the spiritual powers that inhabit our universe. In addition, we have modern shamans who can explain it and attest to its reality. The same cannot be said about many other ancient cultures around the world. In addition, the Native American cultures recognized that this force was everywhere and in everything. They saw it as powerful spiritual manifestations of energy that would appear on its own in certain special places again and again. These places were used by shamans and by the masses for lonely vision quests. Natural spaces such as mountaintops, rock formations, intersections of waterways, and caves were used by shamans as spots where they could consistently gain contact. These were places where the connection could be more easily established and where the spiritual forces seemed to emerge on their own. Today we know that all of these types of places have magnetic anomalies, nearby tectonic fault lines, and radioactive energy sources. In ancient times, when electromagnetic pollution was not prevalent, there were certain individuals who were especially sensitive to the subtle differences found at such natural spaces. I have long suspected that the mineral magnetite, which was first identified in the human brain in 1992, may well be the sensory mechanism used by ancient shamans. Really? Think about what he just said there. Where did I lose my nose? Let's just read it again. I've long suspected that the mineral magnetite, which was first identified in the human brain in 1992, may well be the sensory mechanism used by ancient shamans. Magnetite in the human brain may also turn out to be the cause of electromagnetic sensitivity, a condition mentioned in the first chapter. However, we do know that magnetite in the human brain allows us to sense magnetic fields. Magnetite. This ability was experimentally demonstrated right on the edge of the Earth's fundamental Schumann resonance, 8 Hertz. Recall that the fundamental Schumann resonance is 7.83 Hertz. Human theta waves cover the range from 4 to 8 Hertz, while alpha waves start at 8 Hertz and extend to 12 hertz. It is likely that humans are most susceptible to paranormal experiences at the transition point at 8 hertz, when a relaxed state similar to meditation occurs. Thus, specific natural locations such as caves or mountaintops, where an individual could attune to the Earth's fundamental Schumann resonance, would be ideal places for interactions between human consciousness and time forces. And once again, just so for my own sake, time is temporal intrusions of intelligent manifesting energy. The elite of ancient cultures used natural landforms to connect with the time forces. But it became known as shamans that landforms could be shaped to allow the masses to commune with these spiritual forces. Many of the most incredible sights, such as circle, octagon, earthworks in Newark, Ohio, were made in a way to evoke, contain, and control spiritual manifestations. Earth, as the most primordial spiritual substance, was carefully piled in specific formations as a barrier. Circular enclosures without an opening were made to confine the manifesting spiritual entities. Lines of parallel earthen walls were used to move both the spiritual forces and participants from one sacred location to another. Rituals that vibrated the electromagnetic wave. Rituals that vibrated the electromagnetic web were used to connect with time forces. This knowledge was and still is known by the shamans and medicine people, who are entrusted to maintain the connection. Medicine people and shamans understood that there were specific angles of earth and rocks that enhanced the effects of rituals and attuned the participants in such rituals to the time forces. A detailed description of how these elements, the rituals and land formations, were conducted and interacted with is beyond our scope. However, recall from earlier chapters that all rituals were designed to vibrate the sacred ritual space and the participants to resonate with the desired spiritual forces. Hovenweep. As mentioned in Chapter 5, many ancient cultures believed that the universe was composed of 3 worlds. Some cultures subdivided these 3 worlds into multiple layers, each with its own forces and entities inhabiting it. Many ancient cultures, especially Native Americans, believed that the humans were tasked with a special role. In that role, humans interacted with spiritual entities and gods, and as they were called in the old world belief systems, as an obligation. If the obligation wasn't fulfilled, it meant chaos and entropy would ensue. The obligation was to harmonize with the spiritual world. The people of these cultures recognized that there were certain places on earth where the interactions with the spiritual world were intensified. Shamans and medicine people sought these places out and even erected special buildings where the forces would be encouraged to emerge. This was a common practice throughout the ancient world. In the southwest of the United States, the ancient Babylonian people, the Hopi, the Zuni, the Navajo, constructed circular structures in the ground as sacred places. Mound building cultures constructed earth lodges as sacred and communal spaces. They all literally grounded themselves by placing their bare feet on the soil. In that process, they harmonized themselves with the Schumann resonance and the Earth's ambient frequency. As discussed in Chapter 1, Hovenweep was one of these places. There, a special tower was erected at the bottom of a high canyon. The tower was entered from the top via a ladder and had a few small windows to view certain stars. It was an immensely quiet place and had a good view of the sky and was grounded into the deep earth. From the depths of the canyon, it reached into the sky, connecting the earth's spirits to the spirits of the sky. But it was accessible only by a privileged few. Turning to the old world. As we transition to the second part of this book, Andrew Collins will show that humankind's attempts to access the time forces are far older than anyone has previously expected. Until fairly recent times, it was thought that human civilization, as we commonly think of it, began with the invention of writing and permanent building constructions, sometime around 5,000 years ago. The areas of Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and Egypt were long thought to be the oldest civilizations. However, Malta, the United Kingdom, and other sites in what we call the Old World have massive, impressive stone constructions dating to the same period and even earlier. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey dates to over 12,000 years ago. Mounds were being constructed in South America about 10,400 years ago. See what that stopping point is? Around between 11, around 11,000 years ago. Something cataclysmic happened at that time too. A lot of people argue. Anyways, it appears that all of the underlying belief systems deriving the construction of such sites had a common purpose. They all were used to conduct rituals to contact and harmonize with the spiritual world. All these ancient cultures revered certain animals, but the animals were representations of aspects of the three-part universe. Some of the most important spiritual symbols were from the upper world, large birds that flew in the sky world, landed on earth, the middle world, and also were at home in water, the surface of the lower world. These large birds were the manifestation of creation, the sky world, the keepers of the soul, They were revered and held in high esteem by the ancients. The ancients performed rituals with birds' body parts, and the elite often dressed themselves in bird garb. The Algonquin tribes revered swans, and the Navajos saw 4 swans located at the 4 corners of the world. Other tribes had powerful swan clans. It appears that the gods have always been with us, and it is likely that humans have always interacted with them. Humans have always sought contact with them and engaged in rituals to commune with them, and some have tried to control them. And it is all a lot older than anyone has suspected. And that is the end of part 1. We're now going to get into part 2 in the next reading. And I admit that my reading skills are atrocious. But saying that, it's about the journey and the learning. There's some very important information that was there. Magnetite. In the brain. I wonder if people who are in, certain people ingest that stuff in order to have better visions today. I wonder that. And also the circle thing with rocks. That's something to keep in mind. They just keep popping up over and over and over again. Now mind you, circles made of certain rocks in certain locations. Circles within circles within circles. I have this visualization of you having like a circle, fire pit made of rocks, and then you have your area where you would sit and commune with, and then there would be another, and that would be within a circle. And then another circle would be maybe where you guys have your tents, and then there would be another circle. So at least 3 to 4 circles. And I wonder what would happen. I have no idea. The whole idea is, part of it is to enclose or keep the spirits in one location. Would something negative or positive happen? What would happen if you ingested magnetite? Are people doing that now? I have no idea. It's always one thing after another. One big mystery after another, isn't it?
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
Take it slow. Are you searching?